Government corruption has never been more prevalent or caused more harm. It's why extremism is on the rise. It's why the financial gap between the haves and have-nots has never been wider. And it's why our planet is at risk of an extinction level tragedy. That's why I need your help to keep exposing the truth about the rot on both sides of the aisle. Become a supporter or a friend of the show today by clicking on the coffee link in the description box below. Friends of the show join me on a Zoom hangout once a month, and you guys can ask me any questions you want, and I can get to know you better. But the most important reason to help is to keep the show alive. Together, we can and will save our country and our planet. Thanks in advance and enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So the chickens are coming home to roost. The shit has hit the fan. The karma train has entered the station. Here's the deal. Following these bombshells dropped in all of these January 6th hearings, the ones last week, the one this week, the Department of Justice issued new subpoenas related not only to the fake elector scheme pushed by Donald Trump and his allies, and numerous people had their devices seized. This has completely just FTFO'd Trump world. It's freaking them the fuck out. Rolling Stone magazine interviewed a current advisor to Donald Trump. Current advisor. They say that this is someone who actually was very enmeshed in this plot to overturn the election for him. And the person, of course, spoke on the condition of anonymity, but they said, quote, "I keep waiting for the feds to come raid my shit. I'm not sure how high on the food chain the Department of Justice considers me, but it wouldn't be the most out of the blue thing if I got subpoenaed or served a search warrant." And they have pretty good reason for concern because, as you guys all know now, former DOJ official Jeffrey Clark had his home searched. His devices were seized. This was in an FBI pre-dawn raid. And then days after that news broke, we found out that the Trump coup attorney, John Eastman, he was also frisked in public and his phone was seized on the same day that Clark's home was raided. And we also now know that the Republican chairman for Nevada and for Georgia were approached by federal agents and their devices were seized. And so far, the names of approximately half a dozen people have been released in connection to the grand jury subpoenas that went out. The first is Thomas Lane. Lane was involved in the fraudulent electors plot, both in Arizona and New Mexico. He's currently working for the Republican National Committee, and he's assisting them in the Virginia elections. Another person who purportedly received a subpoena is Georgia attorney and Republican Party official Brad Carver. Carver is accused of being one of the fake electors. He actually was an elector in Georgia, fake elector, and signed one of those documents. A third man named Sean Floyd also allegedly received a subpoena. He was a Trump campaign aide in Michigan. And the Georgia Republican chairman that I mentioned previously, a man named David Schaefer, he also received a subpoena in addition to having his devices seized. There were two women who also allegedly signed the fake elector documents. They were also issued subpoenas. That's Nancy Cottle, I believe is how you pronounce her last name, and Lorraine Pellegrino. And it's also now being reported that the leader of the Arizona Republican Party, which is Trump minion Kelly Ward, you may have heard of her, she also received a grand jury subpoena, and her husband, Michael Ward, also got a subpoena. Now, I should mention, none of these people have been formally accused of a crime. They haven't been arrested yet, but clearly the DOJ has some reason to believe that a crime has been committed in some form or fashion because they have to show evidence of a crime being committed in order to obtain search warrants and seizure warrants by a judge. And Trump world appears to be a little split on this. They appear to be split into two groups. A former senior Trump aide told Rolling Stone, quote, In the time since Cassidy testified, there has definitely been an uptick in chatter about who is and who isn't criminally exposed. There are some people who don't take these hearings or the DOJ probe seriously and think of it as Mueller Part 2, or yet another example of the media getting over its skis. There are others who think that whatever you think of the committee, criminal charges could easily come after all these testimonies and subpoenas. I count myself among the latter group, and Tuesday made me feel even more confident in the idea that we should all be preparing for the Biden Justice Department to really go after Trump people. This isn't a joke and should not be treated like one. And then another Trump advisor told the journalists that they're now consulting with an attorney to discuss possible worst case scenarios that could result, with either the committee probe or the DOJ investigation or both. And Rolling Stone discovered something else that may have been out there, but this was the first I had heard of it. So they said that the Department of Justice has been bringing on prosecutors with expertise in counterterrorism, national security, and prosecuting domestic terror cases. And apparently, this information has made its way to Trump world because that current Trump advisor that I mentioned questioned to the journalist out loud, does the DOJ think that we're all terrorists? I mean, I don't know about the DOJ, but I personally believe that Donald Trump is a domestic terrorist. I also firmly believe he's a stochastic terrorist. I mean, if Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony is true, and I have no reason to believe that it's not, he wanted an armed, angry mob to descend on the Capitol and intimidate Mike Pence and everybody else in that building into keeping him in office. The definition of terrorism is, quote, the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. So again, if the testimony on Tuesday was true and accurate, then there's no doubt in my mind that Trump, possibly others, possibly like Bannon, Giuliani, maybe some others of his minions, they're domestic terrorists. They 100% believe that violence is absolutely okay. It's absolutely necessary in some cases, according to them, in order to achieve your political goals. They're cool with it. Terrorists. So anyway, guys, I'll let you know when I hear more. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Take care. I'll talk with you soon.